everyone, my name is Mashita. Today, I want to share to you about integumentary system in our body. Let's get into it. So, what is integumentary system? The integumentary system is related to our skin. The skin is composed of epithelium, connective tissue, muscle, nerve, blood vessel, and associated structure like gland, hair follicles, and nail. Let's move on to the structure of the skin. Structure of the skin can be divided into two basic layers. The first one is the superficial epidermis, which is a non-vascular keratinized 35 squamous epithelium. The second one is the tough collagen-rich dermis with the fatty hypodermis. In this layer, it is a vascular with the connective tissue layers. Hypodermis is also known as a subcutaneous layer that consists of the connective tissue and adipose tissue. Now, I want to share to you about the layer in the epidermis. Epidermis consists of 5 layers. The first layer is the stratum basale. Stratum basale is the deepest layer in the epidermis. It is a single layer of columnar to a cuboidal cell which rests on the basement membrane. They are the stem cell for skin. The function of this layer is to attach epidermis to dermis. So, the second layer of the epidermis is called stratum spinosum. The 4th to the 6th row of the cell are formed by the mitotic activity of basale. It is called spinosum because of the spiny shape due to the protruding cell processes that join the cell via a structure called a desmosome. The desmosome will interlock with each other and strengthen the bond between the cell. In this layer, keratinocytes also begin to synthesize keratin. The next is the third layer, which is stratum granulosum. In this layer, it is filled with a granule. The first granule is the keratohyalin granule. Keratohyalin granule contain a keratin purchases that eventually aggregate, cross-link, and form bundles. The second granule is a lamellar granule. It releases a water-repelling glycolipid into the intercellular space and function as a glue. It is keeping the cells stuck together. This will help prevent water loss from the body and making the skin relatively waterproof. Also, in this layer, it is generate large amount of keratin. The next is the fourth layer, which is stratum lucidum. It is translucent and very visible. In this layer, cell will begin to die, so the nuclei and organelle begin to disintegrate. It's only leaving behind the keratin filament. This layer will only appear in the thick skin. The last layer of the epidermis is the stratum corneum. It was the most superficial layer in the epidermis. It is flattened, which is a dead cell filled with a soft keratin filament. These keratinized cells are continuously shed and replaced by a new cell. There are many cells in the epidermal layer. The first one is the keratinocyte. Keratinocytes will synthesize a keratin, a protein waterproof protection substance. The second one is the melanocyte. Melanocyte is located in the basal layer of the epidermis. It is synthesized the pigment of melanin that give the skin a dark color and absorb the UV radiation. The third one is the Langerhans cell. Langerhans cell mainly in the stratum spinosum and involved in an immune response. And the fourth is the Merkus cell. It is located in the stratum basale and most abundant in the fingertip. It will act as a mechanoreceptor. Let's move on to the second layer of the skin, which is dermis. There are two types of dermis, which is a papillary dermis and a reticular dermis. Skin appendage in the dermis consists of two, which is a sweat gland and the hair follicle. Sweat gland consists of two portions, which is the secondary portion and a ductal portion. Secondary portion is highly quite deep in the dermis, while the ductal portion spare upward and open at the surface of the skin. There are two types of the sweat gland, which is a crine sweat gland and apocrine sweat gland. Next is the hair follicle. Hair follicle consists of hair bulb, sebaceous gland that surrounded the hair follicle and secretes sebum into the lumen of hair follicle. And the last one is the erector pili muscle, which is a smooth muscle. Let's move on to the function of the skin. The first one is the protection. For example, is the Langerhans cell that help in the immune system, and the second one is the melanin that protect us from the UV light. The second function is the thermoregulation, whether in the hot or cold condition. The third one is the sensory and cutaneous function, for example like touch and the pressure, And the last one is the blood reservoir function. For example, dermis has an extensive blood vessel, so it can act as a reservoir to adjust of the blood flow. Let's move on to the skin metabolism. The skin contains a cholesterol derivative called 7-dehydrocholesterol in the stratum basale and stratum spinosum layer of the epidermis. When the skin is exposed to the UVB radiation from the sunlight, 7-dehydrocholesterol absorbs the UVB photon. UVB energy converts 7-dehydrocholesterol into an unstable molecule called free vitamin D3 through a process of photochemical isomerization. Free vitamin D3 is terminally converted into vitamin D3, which is a stable form. Vitamin D3 is released into the bloodstream and bind to the vitamin D binding protein for transfer to the liver. In the liver, vitamin D3 is hydroxylated to the 25-hydroxy vitamin D3. In the kidney, 25-hydroxy vitamin D3 is further hydroxylated to its active form 1,25-dehydroxy vitamin D3. It is the biological active form of vitamin D responsible for regulating calcium in the body. Now, let's get to know about disease related to the skin, which is eczema. So, what is eczema? Eczema is the name for a group of inflammatory skin condition that causes itchiness, dry skin, rashes, scaly patches, blister, and the skin infection. There are many types of eczema. The first one is the dyshydrotic dermatitis. It is characterized by a small itchy fluid-filled blisters on the hand, finger, and feet. And the second one is the atopic dermatitis. It is a common type of eczema, often starting in the childhood. The third one is the statitis dermatitis. It is occur in the lower legs due to poor blood circulation. The fourth one is the contact dermatitis. It's occur when the skin come into the contact with an irritant or allergen. And the fifth one is the hand dermatitis. It is affected the hand due to the frequent washing, exposure to a chemical or allergen. And the sixth one is the neurodermatitis. It is triggered by a repeated scratching or rubbing due to the itching. And the last one is the nummular dermatitis. It is appear as a round coin-shaped patches on the inflamed itchy skin. The treatment for eczema focuses on managing symptoms, reducing flare-ups, and improving the skin barrier. Treatment can be varied depending on the severity and the triggers. The first one, use of the moisturizers. Apply thick, fragrance-free moisturizer like a petroleum jellies after bathing to keep the skin hydrated and repair the skin barrier. The second one, the use of the medication. Use topical corticosteroid to reduce inflammation and itching. And also, use of the antihistamine that help manage itching, while the severe cases may require oral immunosuppression. The third one, we can avoid the trigger. Identify and avoid triggers such as allergens, stress, and the extreme temperature. And the last one, we can use of the light therapy. It is also known as a UVB phototherapy that will reduce inflammation and itching in the moderated to severe eczema under the medical supervision. The last one, I will talk about the specialist, which is dermatologist. The dermatologist that I choose is Dr. Pig Marwood. She is a specialist in skin cancer, skin surgery, psoriasis, eczema, acne, and rashes for adults and children. She is graduated from the University of Glasgow in 1993. She's complete dermatology training in Aberdeen, Manchester, and Birmingham. She is a fellow of the Royal College of Physicians. The key achievement of her is lead investigator for clinical trial on psoriasis and eczema that contributing to advanced treatment, and she's also published numerous peer-reviewed articles and review for the British Medical Journal. That's all for me. Thank you.